started yet. Okay, so I talked last time that I wanted to talk about this concept of holding space, and I'm hoping I can do it justice. When we are creating community, and I would say this goes for all sorts of communities, so within our family, friendships, but I'm kind of particularly gearing this towards the LDS community. So when we're working towards creating community, what we're really, to really feel like we belong or to feel like we are united or anything like that, we have to be able to feel like we can be vulnerable with each other. Not to say that everybody has to accept or do or act or believe the same things that everybody accepts or does, or that everybody else does, but this idea that we're able to express ourselves and allow things to just fall where they land. So I have to be able to feel comfortable being able to say something without immediate judgment on that, or even if I'm wrong, right? So because when we go into a situation where we feel like people are going to attack us or harm us or in some way try and tear us down, obviously that doesn't feel good. Even if we're wrong, even if we know we're wrong, I think I'm a case in point in the sense that I actually, and you'll see this in these videos, I talk, I think out loud. And as I do that, it's how I actually navigate truth. So as I'm speaking or thinking, that allows me to really kind of situate what I feel is true and what I feel isn't true. It's super helpful for me. So sometimes I'll say things and then they may not be completely accurate, and I'll kind of recognize that. But in either case, it's helpful to have a space that anybody can feel like they can just be vulnerable and not have that immediate flashback or judgment or fear really that happens. So the question then really is, how do we do this at church? I like the concept of holding space a lot. It's something I came across as I worked with laboring women. We would talk about this idea that we're holding space for women in labor. So the idea that we're essentially allowing women to be what they are, to experience what they're experiencing, and we're just sort of a witness to it in a way. Now, another key thing to understand with this concept is to understand 3 roles. Our role in this, the person who we are kind of in conversation with, and Christ's role. Often we conflate our role with Christ's role. So often we will say, I need to save this person. I need to fix this person. I need to somehow make sure that this person understands perfectly what the doctrine is, or understands exactly what they need to do in order to reach Christ. But that was never my role to begin with, ever. I am not their savior. So then the question becomes, well, then what am I there for? And we'll kind of talk about that. The other thing is the person's role, right? The person that is expressing themselves to you or desiring to share themselves with you in some way, or a thought or idea or pain. They are the, particularly in this situation, when they are the ones expressing themselves, they are the actors, right? They are the ones who are have the ability to make the decisions for themselves, to decide for themselves. We believe in agency, right? So they are the ones that need to come to terms with their own sense of truth and how they want to behave in accordance to that. So again, our job is not to make them act a certain way. That's their job. Their job is to make themselves act a certain way according to what they understand as truth. So don't take away that decision-making power from them. In fact, as you are kind of holding space, allow them to call on God themselves to find their own answers. And again, this is all, we've heard this before. In some ways, you can actually even help them to understand how God is speaking to them if they want that. So really just remember who's really the actor in this situation. So then what do we do? Oh, it seems like so much of this I can say is what don't we do? because mostly just listening is the biggest part of what we need to do. Listening and providing emotional support, and again giving them permission to trust their own ability, right? Giving them permission to be the actor in the situation, but even just that emotional support. So you're there to allow them to express themselves. If they ask for help or guidance, feel free to give it. But other than that, typically guidance or advice should be very thoughtfully and carefully given. So mostly it's just a matter of, you don't really need to give them advice unless they ask for it. Bring your whole self there. Listen, pay attention. Try and let go of the stories that go through our head as we're listening to people, which is incredibly hard to do. So listen to them just to listen. I like the idea of curiosity. I've mentioned this before, so be curious. Why are they feeling this way? Even ask questions, right? So clarifying questions. What do you mean by faith? What do you mean by doubt? What do you mean by vulnerability? Even so often we think we understand the meaning of a term when we don't. I think we all have not completely different definitions, but different enough that we don't communicate well. So that sense of curiosity, bring that with you as you're listening. Let go of the story that you are telling yourself in your head. Try not to fix, try not to be judgmental. I think that comes along with fixing, this idea that we are feeling like we need to fix people. Let God be the one that speaks to this person, to their soul. Let God be the one that fills that space that you are holding. And I actually really like that idea. It's the idea that you're allowing this space to happen. You're listening, you're asking clarifying questions, you're perhaps empathizing in some way if you feel you're capable of doing that. And make the story about them, not you. And then that space that's there, allow the Spirit to come, right? So allow that Spirit to come, allow the Spirit to teach them, because that ultimately is who's going to be the best guide for them. And again, allowing Christ in the room, allowing Him to be the Savior. So another thing is to take care of yourself, because sometimes it's hard to hold, which is why I showed the bowl video. If any of you saw that, that's my bowl, right? As I'm holding space for other people, I actually let them go into that bowl for me. That's where I kind of put those kinds of things, because it is hard sometimes. So I just want to read one brief thing. A couple of things that I wrote in an article about this. So one of it is the concept of taking care of yourself as you're allowing space. So this is what I wrote about this. Be sure to do those things that take care of yourself in the gospel and God's love. Allow God to be in charge, not you. Embrace the atonement and forgiveness in your own life. We are bound to make mistakes in our effort to help, but God knows this. This was the exact reason Christ came to earth. Sorry. When your efforts fall short, as they will, allow the atonement to take root in your own heart, make the needed repairs, and let Christ be the healer. And then this, I ended this with this because I like this idea, the process of becoming. The gospel of Jesus Christ challenges us to become something more than who we are now. Sometimes, particularly for teens or for those who are dealing with challenging emotions, the space between who we are now and who we are working to become can be painful and perilous. That space can be raw and vulnerable. It helps to have someone soften that space and allow the light of Christ to enter. In this way, we can become a conduit of God's love as He brings healing to those who suffer. So I would just encourage everybody to bring that space to church, to bring that space to our Relief Society and Elders Quorums, our sacrament meetings, to bring that with us. And that's it.